Hey there, welcome to the Stoic Quotient. Today we're diving deep into the battle against time, guided by the timeless wisdom of Seneca. Time, it's slippery, ruthless, and utterly indifferent. It doesn't slow for the weary or wait for the unprepared. It moves with silent cruelty, sweeping away the hesitant and rewarding only those who dare to grasp it with both hands. And yet, despite this truth, we squander it. We trade it for trivialities, surrender it to obligations that don't serve us, and give it freely to people who wouldn't bleed for us in return. Seneca knew this. He saw humanity drowning in its own negligence, blind to the simple reality that life isn't something to be postponed, it's something to be claimed now, with urgency, with fire. A Roman statesman, a philosopher, a man entangled in power and corruption. He wasn't perfect, but that made his warnings all the more potent. He didn't preach from a place of untouchable wisdom. He struggled, he faltered, and through it all he came to understand a truth we continue to ignore. The most precious thing we own isn't wealth, not titles, not even the body we inhabit. It's time. And yet we treat it as though it were infinite. He wrote, "Men are thrifty in guarding their private property, but as soon as it comes to wasting time, they are most extravagant with the one commodity for which it is respectable to be greedy." We hoard money. We protect our possessions. But time, we let it slip through our fingers like sand, never pausing to acknowledge that each grain lost is one we will never regain. How much of your life have you already handed away? How many hours have been stolen by distraction, by obligation, by a future that may never come? Seneca warned against this very illusion, the endless preparing, the constant waiting for the right moment. Lay hold of today's task, and you will not need to depend so much upon tomorrow. But do we? Or do we tell ourselves that tomorrow will be different, that one day we will wake up and finally live as we were meant to? The truth is stark. There is no guarantee of tomorrow, and yet we act as if there is. If we truly knew that our time was nearly up, would we continue to spend it as we do now? Or would we grasp it, clutch it to our chest, fight for every second as if it were our last breath? The tragedy is that by the time we realize the answer, it is often too late. Seneca didn't simply ask us to recognize the fleeting nature of time. He demanded that we change, that we confront the uncomfortable truth that we are passengers in a vessel that is always sinking, that we cease our endless chase for status, for approval, for possessions that will turn to dust long before we do. He urged us to embrace something greater, the pursuit of wisdom, the refinement of the soul, the deep and intentional experience of their present moment. For what is a life spent preparing, if not a life never truly lived? It is inevitable that life will be not just very short, but very miserable for those who acquire by great toil what they must keep by greater toil, Seneca wrote. The pursuit of more wealth, more success, more security becomes a prison of our own making. We toil endlessly only to find that we must toil even harder to maintain what we have built, and in the meantime, time slips away. The only currency that matters is spent on things that in the end hold no value. So what is the answer? How do we fight back against the current? Seneca's advice was simple yet radical. Embrace the present. Stop chasing a future that may never come. Devote yourself not to empty ambitions, but to the things that truly feed the soul. Study philosophy. Engage with the world. Seek wisdom over wealth, presence over power. The truly leisured person, he wrote, is one who is conscious of his own leisure. This is not a call to abandon ambition, nor is it an excuse to live recklessly. It is a plea to see time for what it is and to use it with purpose, to step outside the endless cycle of waiting and wanting and realize that the only moment that matters is this one, right now. Seneca's words have endured for nearly 2,000 years, but their weight has not lessened. They remain as sharp as ever, a dagger pressed against the throat of our complacency. So I ask you, what will you do with this moment? Will you let it pass as all the others have? Or will you claim it fiercely as if it were your last? Because one day it will be. The battle against time is one we cannot win, but we can choose how we fight. And that choice, your choice, will define everything. If you like this content, please give us a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching The Stoic Quotient.